We think, oh, I have to be all in. We think about operating at those perfect conditions. You're going to wake up at your alarm. You're going to go to work at the same time each and every day. The day is just going to flow perfectly as it would in your mind. But reality is life always happens. Saying, okay, what parts are you able to control and what parts can't you control?
You are listening to the KML Movement Podcast. Connect with me on Instagram at Kelsey Lensman. Hope you enjoyed today's episode and don't forget to share with a friend. What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the KML Movement Podcast. Today, you see her down here if you're on YouTube, but today we have a special guest, one of the most special people, a part of our team here, and it's Navi Kaur. She is a huge part of our team. And with being our team registered dietitian, and she coaches a ton of women, not only on our team to get results, right, but to find freedom in themselves, to find freedom in food throughout their entire journey. And she's one of the things I admire the most about her is she leads by example and continually challenging herself in many areas of her life by competing in powerlifting. She just signed up for one in September. Finishing up her master's at Ohio State and leading a research study for strength training in women, while also continually growing her mind in the process. So yes, she is like a quadruple threat, and she is here. Nav, how are you doing?
I'm doing well today. I'm blushing now from that intro.
It is my favorite to rate these intros. I'm like, all right, let's gas them up a little bit.
Yeah,
I
I'm
love
doing great today. How are you doing?
Pretty good. Pretty good. To catch people up to speed, we did a previous podcast about more about your journey back in the day. So if you're curious of Nav's journey, go ahead and scroll back. I think it's episode either 4 or 5, way back when we started. But can you just give everybody a short summary of where you came from and just your journey up until this point, and then we're going to dig in.
Yeah, I never know where to begin, but I guess I'll start with me as a kid. I come from a small town in Ohio, and growing up, I really just had poor body image issues. I was overweight from the age of 6 from there. And so I always just struggled with my relationship with food. I always struggled with my eating habits, exercise. I started my first diet probably at the age of 10 or 11 and probably tried every diet out there, like many women always say, but I especially started at a really young age. And so a big part of my journey and who I am is really going through all of those struggles as a kid and into my high school years, which is when I saw my first dietitian who really kind of changed the trajectory of my life. And while I had and still go through nutrition struggles, that dietitian really changed my mindset regarding my health to view it more as a lifestyle than something that's simply short term. So from that point on, I gained an interest in nutrition. And when it was time to go to college and sign up for what degree I was going to pursue, I had never thought about college ever. And so it was really just eye-opening, like, oh my goodness, what am I going to go to school for? And I was sitting next to my dad, and he was like, well, you like to help people, and you saw a dietitian that helped you, so why don't you just sign up to become a dietitian? And I was like, okay, sure, I'll do that. And so I was terrible at science classes my entire life. I was always a big math person. And so little did I know going into college, I would be taking all science classes to become a registered dietitian. And so I always say that I molded into my major, and I am very thankful that I stuck through with it because now I get to do what I love each and every day and helping people through nutrition and with their health and all different aspects. And it's exactly what I would have wanted as a little girl. So the fact that I'm able to help others now in the way that I would have loved to then help when I was younger, regardless of what age women are at now, is truly a blessing. And it's the greatest thing.
Full circle. Talk
Yeah.
about 8, 10 years old, first diet to now you're helping people not be on the same path, and
Yeah.
that That's wild to me in the best way possible. And we talk a lot about like it starts with you, right? It starts
Mhm.
with your own journey, knobs, the story that you've been through. And through that story, you've helped so many people. And one thing I've seen you grow in is mindset up here. Like it's
Yeah.
been tremendous when I first met you till now. We all evolved, but it's been really cool to see that from you. So for you, what has been the biggest thing that you've learned about yourself through it could be nutrition or just your fitness journey in general?
Ugh, I feel like there's so many things, but I would truly say the biggest thing that has helped is the people that I surround myself with. And so knowing that I didn't have to be in a place where I want to change my body because I hate it, but it can come from a place of empowerment and learning how to do that in a healthful and sustainable way, and having people on your team, knowledgeable people on your team. You were one of those people for me, which is how we met. And it's so crazy how it's come full circle. But truly having people that want you to step up your game and want you to elevate in a whole nother level, is your environment is truly everything in allowing you to shift your mindset.
Oh, that's good. And you
Yeah.
you said in there wanting to change your body from not a place of hate, but for a place of like just seeing progress, right? And oh, what can I achieve versus I hate this thing about me. And I know a lot of
Yeah.
women and young girls, any age girls have been at this point where they're like, okay, Nav, that sounds ideal, right? It sounds ideal to come from a place of love. But when I look in the mirror, I hate what I see staring back at me. So what
Mhm.
would you tell them or what advice would you give them?
Yeah. It takes a lot to shift the mental part of things, which is the tough part. It's not something that happens overnight, and it's still things, I still struggle with it each and every day. And I think it's one of those things where you never truly get out of that negative mindset. You kind of just learn how to make that positive mindset greater than those negative thoughts, because those negative thoughts still creep up. But for me, the biggest thing was on what I can control and what I can't control. So if there is things about me, whether it was physical, mental, emotional, anything like that, if it was something that I could truly change, I just thought like, do I have the power to take action and change this part about my life? And if I do, cool. Let me research how to do that. Let me seek out the people that can do that for me, which is really the main reason why I met you. The first way that I met you was like, ooh, I want to train like a strong, badass woman. Like, I'm going to go to Kelsey because that's someone I want to be like. And even from like a mental standpoint, I'm like, okay, if I'm having a lot of negative thoughts, maybe seeking out a therapist that could help me would be a great place for me to start, so I can learn how to overcome some of those negative thoughts. And so it's a whole journey to get to this point here, but it's really just recognizing, okay, what parts are you able to control and what parts can't you control? And action truly just allows you to breed that confidence to get to that new level that you're shooting for.
That's good. And for women, you coach a ton of women, Novs. I mean, you're one of the main coaches on our team here. And one thing when I talk to our crew, our clients, they're like, Nav has helped me so much in the mental game. And
Mm-hmm.
they did not realize how much of the mental game it is at first. And it is for, in my opinion, forever. You'll always continually evolve and grow and honestly learn more about yourself. But they're like, wow, if I could tell somebody one thing, it's I didn't realize how much of a mental journey it was, and that the physical is a byproduct of the mental. So, what have
Yeah.
you seen in women that you've coached, Nav, maybe from their beginning to the first few weeks, few months that they've seen held them back to eventually get through?
Oh, I love this question because I've seen it a lot recently in the clients that I've had. And so big thing is we oftentimes come into this journey of like wanting to improve our health, want whatever goal that is, and we have a big all or nothing mentality behind it. We think, "Oh, I have to be all in," and we think about operating at those perfect conditions, like you're going to wake up at your alarm, you're going to go to work at the same time each and every day. The day is just going to flow perfectly as it would in your mind. But reality is that life always happens. And so the biggest thing is letting not it's they're never failing, but letting clients kind of like stumble and recognize like, oh crap, like what do I do now that I'm not in my perfect conditions? And then it's a great teaching moment to allow them to recognize like, hey, once we recognize and give ourselves grace of knowing that it's never going to be perfect, we can learn how to operate under all conditions, not just those perfect ones we make in our mind, but allow us to achieve that flexibility that we often don't give ourselves when we start our journey. Once we start focusing in on our fitness and nutrition, our brain really likes dichotomous thinking. So it likes putting things into camps. It's either we're all in or we're out. It's good or it's bad. And so biggest thing is allowing women to recognize like, hey, it doesn't have to be like that. There is this messy middle that we talk about that we can operate in. And also one of the big things that I have told clients recently that they've really loved is recognizing that your best can look different on different days. And so we often think about wanting to perform our best each day, wanting to go to the gym 4 times a week, wanting to nail our nutrition 7 days out of the week, when in reality, some days that might not be achievable, and that is okay. And that doesn't make you a failure because your best can look different on different days. So big thing is allowing them to understand flexibility in achieving their goals, but also understand when they maybe got to kick themselves in their butt to like get going, and really learning what's going to work for them, their goals and their lifestyle and all of that.
Yeah. Man, can we just cut that clip out and just give it to everybody out there? Because that's, I mean, the amount of people, me personally, but the amount of people that I've talked to of this all or nothing mentality of, all right, on Monday I'm starting everything, and then come Thursday you fall off one thing, and then that gets in your head, and then come Friday you're like, all right, screw it. And then it's this cycle that repeats over and over again, not just nutrition, but that could be any area of your life there. And we talk so much about in our team, our everything, that self-confidence is self-trust, right? And that if you say you're going to do something, and a lot of the diets you shouldn't have done anyway because they're not actually a sustainable part of it. But if you say you're going to do something, you don't do it, that's where that self-confidence crunches down a notch. But it doesn't mean that things aren't going to happen where it throws a curveball, that you need to teach yourself how to not just get back on the horse because it's not getting back, but work through that and say, hey, what am I learning about myself in the process? And now for those women that you've worked with that come to you maybe check-in day or come to you throughout the week that are like, man, I'm struggling with this all or nothing, or hey, this life thing happened, I'm completely off my game. What questions do you ask them, or what are some things that spark the dialogue in their head of, oh, what am I going to learn about myself, or how do I get myself back on track here?
Ooh, great question. So, couple things that come up with this. So, first and foremost, I talk about the power of having a choice. So, we did a team call recently about motivation and discipline and those kind of words that we hear really often. But what it really boils down to is you having a power of choice, whether you choose to do the thing or not do the thing. And so, with women that have this all or nothing mentality, or like, oh, like I ate pizza and I am bad. I did bad on my nutrition. I kind of have them take a step back and be like, okay, like, why do you think it's bad? Like, do you think pizza's bad? Do you feel like you gained a bunch of weight because you ate this piece of pizza? Like, what is so bad about you having whatever food item that is? And that in itself typically gets them to like stop in their tracks and gets them to think like, oh, like, is it really bad or is it like really okay? And so from there, it's really by case and how I communicate with the individuals of what questions to ask them regarding like, okay, was this something that you need to really focus in on and you did so bad and now we got to start from zero? Or are you really okay? And if it wasn't your optimal condition, what would you have done differently? And so from there, really step by step with them in conversations to really figure out what in their mind is tripping them up, because everyone has a different struggle of what's tripping them up. So it's really honing in and identifying what it is for that specific person.
Everybody, now do you see why Navi's clients just rock it? Like they do, granted, yes, they stumble. Everybody, I'm not going to say everybody, many people stumble because it's life, right? I hate saying
Mhm.
everybody always can't, but that's why, Nav, when people work with you, they not only, yes, get the physical, they learn so much about themselves in the process, which is a reflection of you asking the hard questions. And I think
Mhm.
that's when somebody starts their fitness journey. They're like, okay, let me just, what should I eat? How should I train? Okay, cool, I'm good. Right.
Mhm.
And what you don't realize is you discover so much about yourself, that which is why 10 years, 15 years down the road, you have developed a skill set versus just this meal plan and a workout that when you don't have it, you can't do it, right? Because
Mhm.
your clients now are learning, our whole team, because we talk about this so much, are learning, hey, when I do stumble, because it's going to happen at some point in the future too, how do I pick myself back up? And that it's
Mhm.
a skill set, right? It's a skill set of learning how to, what should I do, what did I do not wrong, but what could I have done better, right? And if
Mhm.
you don't develop that skill set, you're not going to have that for the rest of your life. And sometimes it just takes that mentor, that person to ask that hard question for you to learn that thing about yourself, you know?
Yeah.
And that's just the coolest thing to me, because then that's true transformation. And
Yeah.
for you, Nav, I'm just going to ask you a question about yourself. What is that, not just one thing you've learned about yourself because you've asked that question, but when you stumble or when you stumbled, how do you handle it? Or how do you pick yourself back up from that?
In the past, I would have just completely given up. So Navi, like 6, 7 years ago, I would have been like, okay, I'm doing awesome. I'm like hitting everything 100%. Day 12 comes of me being super consistent and something happens. I'd be like, well, I guess I'll just start again on Monday. And I realized that there was so many times of starting again on Monday that I was sick and tired of it. And I realized that I couldn't just have my workouts and be golden. I couldn't just have what I wanted to do for nutrition and be golden. I really needed to develop the skill of, okay, when things get a little hectic, because they always will, what am I going to do? How am I going to adapt and adjust to the conditions to continue my trajectory of moving forward? And another big piece of that is recognizing that fitness and focusing in on nutrition aren't just something that I do. I've slowly gone through the process of allowing myself to really integrate it into my life. And that in itself is a really key factor in allowing me to continue pushing forward and not just giving up. So, that in itself is a skill set, but that's one of those things where it becomes a lifestyle as you continue to do it. So, it's almost twofold there. And then along with that, there, asking myself the hard questions. And so, like I mentioned, therapy was one of those things that really got me to learn how to like ask those hard questions for myself. But what many of my clients do so well that they may not realize, like when I ask them, like, how is your mindset different from day one to today? A big thing that they don't realize as they're talking to me is that they go through this whole process in their mind. It's like a split second now, but they go through this whole process of, okay, if I stumble, what was this barrier? So going through identifying like what that struggle was. And then from there, they allow themselves to have some options of like how to fix that barrier. Okay, I could do, if I didn't eat a solid lunch. Okay, what was that barrier? Maybe you didn't meal prep. So, what are some solutions? Making a list and going grocery shopping, carving out some time to meal prep. And then from there, trying out the options and seeing if that solved your problem. And if it didn't, recycling the process. And what's so cool is that instead of just giving up altogether, they've slowly developed the skill of being able to like identify what that thing is and what they need to do to help them to continue moving forward. And what used to maybe be like a 20-minute process in their mind now is just something that's done in a split second, which is so, so cool to see that evolution happen.
And everybody, this is what you don't see in transformation pictures, for, like before and afters, is the literally different operating system that they are forming through Nav, how you're working, all of us, how they're growing as a human. Like they are literally forming completely different mindset around things.
Yeah.
And that's what I just wish everybody could see is I wish you could have a physical representation of how much your mind changes. And sometimes you can't see that. And so you're like, man, I'm not making progress. Or, hey, I want to make more progress, right? And you're like, why am I not making that? And it's easy for us to see because we're an unbiased outside part of it. And we're like, you're making so much progress from the mental side of it. And I just want to tell them the physical is coming. Like it is
Yeah.
literally a matter of time that the physical is going to be an outside reflection of the internal that has and is going to continually change. And you said something initially that digs deep with me. You said, it used to be your health and fitness like one area. Okay, I'm going to work on my health and fitness in this one area. And then you said now it's like for life, right? It's a
Mhm.
part of your life. And
Mhm.
one phrase that has continually stuck with me is you can't quit your health and fitness. Like it's not
Mhm.
something that's just an 8 week or 6 month journey that it's like, oh, cool. After these 6 months, cool, I'm good. I got to my goal. I'm good. Right? You literally cannot quit it. And I want whoever's listening to this in their car, in their earphones, I want you to listen in deep to this. You can't quit your health and fitness until you're 6 feet under, right? Your health
Mhm.
is the most important thing. And I'm going to say most important thing because if you don't have your health, I don't care how much money you have. I don't care what car you drive. I don't care what house you live in. When you don't literally feel good, it affects everything in your life, your relationships, your everything. So now it's been cool to see you take that lead and with grad school, with going here, with going there, and having so many things to do, it was so easy. And it could have been easy for you to say, okay, well, I'll just get back to my fitness journey or my health journey later. Like, all right, I have too many things here. I'll just get back to it later. And I know a lot of women we work with are busy women, right? The culture we live in is busy. And it's so easy to say, okay, I'll get to this when XYZ things happen. So for that woman that thinks that, Knobs, what would you tell them?
It doesn't have to be hard. We talk about this often where we think things have to be hard in order for them to be successful. And you can work with you. You can work with your lifestyle. You don't have to meal prep 5 meals a day for 7 days a week if that's not feasible for your lifestyle. You don't have to commit to an hour at the gym 6 days a week if that doesn't work for your lifestyle. And that is absolutely okay. Your health and your fitness and nutrition all operates on a spectrum. There might be some times where maybe we're on a end of a spectrum where we are prepping one meal out of the week and we get to the gym. Maybe we don't get to the gym. We get 10-minute walks 5 times out of the week. Cool. You're still doing something for your health, which is awesome, but maybe it's not the other conditions that you would operate at if you were a little less busy, a little less hectic. Maybe on the other end, that is going to the gym 5 times a week. Maybe that is spending an hour and a half on meal prep on Sundays because you have a little more time. And so, a big thing with that is we oftentimes see what other people are doing on social media for their health and for their fitness, but different for everyone and you can make it easy for you. You can tailor it to your lifestyle. And that's the beauty of also having a coach and someone in your corner is allowing them to help you figure out, okay, how can we make this easy for you so you're still on that trajectory? Because your health and your health just never ends until, like you said, you're 6 feet under. Your journey is infinite, your goals are infinite, and once you recognize that it's something that you're going to have to catch up to speed on, it's if you don't realize that, then you're always going to stumble and you're never going to get that consistency down.
Mic drop. I'm just gonna mic drop that right there for you. That was And with that, I'm going to switch the script a little bit. And I want to ask you about you on a different complete level.
Okay.
You are a very driven, ambitious woman. Like you are.
Mhm.
I challenged everybody to do a list of 100 things they wanted and 100 like
Uh,
experiences they have, and you ate that up. You're like, all right, let's go.
yeah.
Have you always been very driven and ambitious, or is that something that you've cultivated over time?
It's definitely something that I have. more so cultivated over time. I think for me, I've always had aspects of wanting to be driven and ambitious, but I was always scared. And
Ooh.
I always felt like I was the person that like wasn't allowed to be driven and ambitious. Like I had to fit within this box. And if you know me, you know I hate that. If you tell me I can't do something, I know you're the same way, Kels, but like, do not put me in a box. And so once I got to a point where I was like older and realized that like I didn't have to be put into this box, I think that in itself like allowed me to be more driven and ambitious. And then even throughout my like journey to become a dietitian and becoming a power lifter and all of that, I had a lot of people. It's one specific story. I remember it was my freshman year of college, and I only ever was in the cardio canyon at Ohio State. If anyone listening knows what that is, at the RPAC there. And I would only do the elliptical. I'd always only run or walk on the treadmill. So, like moving my body, getting good habits there. But I know strength training was super important. I was just always so scared to do it. So it was the end of freshman year. I'm pretty sure it was like during finals week. I went with my roommates in a little tiny corner. We grabbed some dumbbells and just did some like arms. We did like some shoulder presses, some bicep curls. And I just remember I was so excited. Like I remember I just felt like a badass, even though it was like the one time I did it. Like I swear, I just felt so good. And I was like, oh, like I want to be a personal trainer. Like I feel like that would be so fun, because I pretty sure I saw like a couple personal trainers like walking around on the floor. And my two roommates that I was with were just laughed at me. They were just like, oh, haha, like, okay. And for some reason, like, I could just sense that they didn't believe in me. And it was one of those things where, like, I had to fit in a box of, like, you don't look like someone that lifts. Like, you don't look like one of these people. So, like, why do you think you could do that? Literally 2 years later, I competed in my first powerlifting meet. I became a certified personal trainer, and the rest is history. So, it's one of those things where when people tell you no, or people tell you that you can't do things, you just get so fed up. And I think I've always had that characteristic, but it was when I got older where I was truly allowed to be more driven and ambitious and just say, screw everyone else. I'm going to do what I want to do because that's what's going to make me happy.
Oh, now everybody sees why we get along so well. I was on a call with somebody yesterday and they've known me for a while and they're like, Kels, they're like, I am so excited to be a part of your team because I know that you would only have badasses that would be a part of this. And like they know their stuff. And as soon as you said that, I'm like, yeah, it's true. Um, but you said in that story, I love that you shared that story because I know a lot of people can relate to that. No matter what age you are, it doesn't have to be just in college, that you bring yourself to this little corner. You want to do the thing, you're afraid to do the thing, so you scroll on Instagram and you might find this arm workout from this Fitstagram girl, and if that gets you started, awesome. I will never ever ever shame anybody for getting started because I think whatever journey you're on, that's amazing, right? But you said when you were doing that and you shared that little dream or that desire of, hey, I could see myself potentially doing this, and automatically you could feel the judgment, you could feel the oh yeah, really, like, right, I don't know if you can do that.
Yeah.
Many women in that same position, Nav, they have two options, but many women would choose the option of, well, I guess they're right. I guess they're right. I guess I'm not meant for that. I guess, yeah, who do I think that I am that I could do this thing or do that? And instead, you chose the other route. For those women that are listening to this, that have maybe experienced something so similar, whether that's in their fitness journey or in a completely other area of your life, what would you tell them?
I'm going to bring you into this because you
Okay.
have helped me with this analogy. If you are 70 years old and you are sitting in your rocking chair, there you go. What would you be thinking about? Would you be regretting that you didn't do certain things in your life? Would you be happy that you didn't do certain things in your life? And the biggest thing that you don't want to live with is regret. you don't want to live with the regret of not doing something when you were younger. And I feel like I hear so many women say this who are older, who like talk to me about what I do. They're like, oh, I wish I would have just started this when I was younger and didn't listen to people. I would have just wish I would have started just lifting weights and not care what the men at the gym were saying. And so times have changed, obviously. But with that is, think about your future self. Are you going to kick yourself in the butt for not doing that thing? Or are you going to be happy that you maybe tried? Maybe you didn't like it, but at least you tried and you know whether you liked something or not. You didn't regret anything because whatever you chose to do, you gave it your all. So think about you at the end of the day, you only have yourself. You live for yourself. There's nobody else that you have to live for. You got to make yourself happy. So if you're not doing the things that make you happy at the end of the day, then what are you living for? Why are you here? So do the ambitious things, even though it's easier said than done, but take some time to think through what are the things that are truly going to make you happy at the end of the day. If today was your last day on earth, would you be happy about all that you've at least tried to accomplish? Or are you still wishing that you would have tried for more? And go from there.
That's good. And for those that listen, that Nav just posed that question. If today was your last day, are there areas in your life where you're like, man, I wish this would be better? I want you, as you're listening, to pause and to take a moment to think about, maybe it's a few areas, maybe it's one area, maybe it's no areas, right? And initially you might be discouraged of, oh man, yeah, I really did let this go, right? But I'm going to challenge you to flip that script and say those areas that you wish might be better. It's not about flipping that on its head tomorrow and saying, okay, everything's completely different. But it's asking yourself, what is one thing I can do to pursue something in that area, right? Because so many people feel overwhelmed, discouraged of, I don't even know how to start. So then they start telling them the story of like, well, I can't even. And then they play into that story in their head by proving to themselves that they can't, because they don't take any action, they don't do anything. And just as Nav said, she's cultivated, yes, she's been that driven person, and my story is so similar to hers. She's cultivated and created this person that she is today. Or even better, she's uncovered the person that she really is, right? Back when she was nervous, scared, all that stuff, similar to me, it wasn't truly who I was, but it was the scared version of me, the fearful version, the version that was afraid of judgment a lot. And I'm not saying I don't struggle with that today, because I still do, right? We're human. But can you ask yourself, what is the one thing, the one action item that I can do to take one step in the right direction? That might be from a career, listing out all the careers that you would rather do. Your actual, like, ask yourself, what is my big dream, right? What is my big dream of what I want? And you might seem to see like, Kelsey, that's cheesy, right? It's, why am I doing that? But just like Nav said, if you continually put yourself in a box, guess where you're going to live there? Forever, right? You're going to live in that box forever. And it's up to you, not your mom, not your friend, not your boyfriend, not your husband, to do anything about it. It's up to you. And that's the ownership piece, which now we're going to bring it back. And I'm going to wrap it up here real quick, because I know you're a busy woman. Ownership is something that in your fitness journey, in any area, is the foundation, right? And it's not beating yourself up for not getting there, but it's taking ownership and saying, hey, if I want to change this thing, what is something I can do better? So for you, Nav, what does ownership mean to you, and how is that played out, not just in your journey, but in other people's journey that you coach?
For me, ownership is recognizing that no one's going to save me. If I want to be this badass, ambitious woman, I'm going to have to put in the effort to get to that place. And so I think sometimes the thing is recognizing like it's going to take a little bit of effort, and that effort is on a spectrum there. But for ownership, it's recognizing that no one's here to do it for me. No one's going to save me. And if I want all of these ambitious things out of my life, then I'm going to have to put in that effort day in and day out to figure out what that is for me. And so for me, it's recognizing day to day that big thing is for me is having that choice. I have the choice of figuring out what I do each and every day in order to propel me to those goals that I want to achieve. And those goals are ever evolving there, but owning that shit each and every day in order to get what's mine, because I'm going to get what's mine.
Mm. And look at that belief in what she said there. She said, not I want to get what's mine, like I'm going to. But once again, and I'm just saying this because you're here, like you've cultivated that belief, right? You might not have believed that 5 years ago when you didn't do the certain things that you're doing today, right? And so people see you, they see me, and they're like, well, they were just born that way. They were just born with this belief in themselves. They were just born with not struggling with nutrition. And I'm like, if you only saw the girl 5, 6 years ago, like if you only could see that version of her. And I want to say, like, I see so much of myself in who we work with because I'm like, I see what you can do. You just don't see it yet. And if you just listen to Nav and you're like, damn, like that was powerful. She's cultivated that. She's grown her mind. She's grown her physical body. And it's not something that she was just given. She has gifts, but she's also had to work and uncover those gifts, just like every single person. And so, for that woman, last two questions, for that woman that has the fire under her butt, right? Or maybe that woman that is like, man, yeah, that is something I do need to work on, is ownership. What would you tell them? What is one thing you would tell them to allow them to get to the place of belief in themselves like you have in yourself?
Surround yourself with the people that want you to win. If you want that ownership, figure out what areas of your life you want that ownership in. If you want ownership in your fitness, go to someone that has that ownership that you look up to help you on that journey. It doesn't have to be the person you stick with forever, but it's someone to get your foot in the door and get you going. If that's for nutrition, talking to someone that you're like, hey, like they seem to have a grasp on what they're doing. Like, I want to get to that place, and surrounding yourself with those people that allow you to have that ownership in the things that you want ownership of. And from there, action breeds confidence. As you put in that effort and you take that action, you're going to increase that belief in yourself. Because how can I sit here and believe in my ability to be a strong power lifter if I don't have a consistent routine of going to the gym? I'm not going to believe in myself, and it's all just going to be fake noise in my head. And so I have to take that action in order to be able to get to that place there. And what's helped me is surrounding myself with people that are strong, surrounding myself with people who see my vision and want me to win. And not that they're the only people I have to rely on, but it gives me a little more of an edge, and it allows me to believe in myself a little bit more because there's other people that are just as driven, that are getting to that place of taking ownership of their lives each and every day.
Oh man. Yep. Yep. Okay, before I ask the last question, you said something there that I cannot pass up. You said surround yourself with other people, right, that have that area of their life that you're like, man, I kind of want to resemble something like that, right? But you said in there that at the beginning, action breeds confidence. And you said initially you didn't believe in yourself. And this is something that I talk about, that our team talks a lot about, is initially having that borrowed belief. This is why, in my opinion, having a coach or having that mentor in your life that sees more than you see in yourself is exponentially important when you're starting, because sometimes you don't have that belief. A lot of times you don't have that belief because you haven't done the things to cultivate that belief. You're not wrong. You're not special of like, man, it's just me and everybody else just has belief in themselves. But initially in your journey, sometimes you need to borrow that belief from somebody that sees more in yourself than you see in yourself, right? And then that's that transfer of belief. Then you start doing the things that you say you're going to do. You start seeing, oh, not just physical progress, but mental progress. And then you cultivate that belief, right? Sometimes you need to borrow it. That's okay. But then you cultivate that. And that's when it gets good. And that's the journey that oh man, I wish everybody could be on. And they can. Last question. All right. Dreams and goals of Navi Kaur. What are those?
Oh, goodness. Let's see here. Kelsey already mentioned that she made me write out a list of like 100 things that I want, 100 experiences that I want to have. So there's a lot of them. And Kelsey knows me as like the dreamer. I'm always thinking of these big, ambitious ideas. And so just know that there are many. But when you ask that question, the first thing that came to my mind is I want to be the strongest, most badass powerlifter I can possibly be. I want to continue to allow hundreds and thousands of women to become the most badass version of themselves. That is a big goal of mine, is to continue what I'm doing right now for the rest of my life, because I want everyone to be able to feel the way that I feel each and every day, because it's the most amazing feeling. Other things, I want my master's degree. We're getting there. We're finishing up my thesis and everything, so that'll be awesome. I want to travel. I want to be able to have that freedom to travel. I want to continue helping with the Empower Meets and take it all over the US, because I want other women to be able to feel badass and see how strong they are capable of being. Yeah. I just want it all, and I'm going to get what's mine.
Hey, you can have it all, right? You don't need to shrink yourself for any damn person out there or any person's box that you need to fit into. And that's not something I have just admired. And honestly, I've taken so many things from you that you don't even realize. And you lead not only by example, but you're continually growing yourself. And that's, if anybody's listening, know that we are not stopping anytime soon. Like, our mission of not just transforming a body, right? It's so much deeper than that. Our mission of just leading a movement of badass, strong women and confident women is not stopping anytime soon. And these two are huge leaders in that journey, because we know that it just wasn't given to us, and that we got to a place that we might not have imagined that we could get to. And Nav, you're there, me, I'm here, and we're continuing to grow, we're continuing to stumble, but we're continuing to just cultivate that person that we really want to become. And so, Nav, I just want to say first, thank you for doing everything that you're doing, yes, for yourself, but also leading our team the way you do, leading your clients the way that you do. And just mark my word, a year from now, what day is it today? We're recording this on March 25th, 2022. A year from now is going to be tremendous. A month from now is going to be tremendous. And we are literally just getting started. So appreciate you, girl. Any last words?
Yeah, I appreciate you, Kelsey. I want to say thank you for having me on today. Thank you for creating this space where I'm able to live out my passions and cultivate amazing young women.
Let's go, baby. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you are curious and just connecting with Nav, and if there's been any part of this, which I know there's many, where you're like, ooh, that was me, or hey, Nav, that really hit home with me, go ahead and message her. Nav, what's social handle?
At Navi_RD.
Beautiful. NAVI dot, or underscore, not dot. NAVI_RD. You can message her there. I know that she would just greatly appreciate that, as much as I do and we do here too. And just like I said, if there is a part of this where you're like, man, women need to hear this, or hey, my daughter needs to hear this, or hey, my friend needs to hear this, I would appreciate tremendously if you could share it, or even just screenshot that, post it on your story, and have that one thing that you learned from this podcast, because you will be amazed about the ripple effect in your life of somebody you might inspire just from one quote. And so I appreciate that. Screenshot, share it, tag me, tag Nav, and I hope you guys have an awesome rest of the week.